Brothers and sisters, morning to you all. Today we are reading 2 Samuel chapter 13. We have Pastor Joshua sharing. Chapter 13 and 14 should be read together. Talk about Absalom. And then 15 to 19 talk about the treason of Absalom and his death. So 13 and 14 are a turning point. From chapter 10 to the results from chapter 10 to 13, and is also the beginning to 15 to 19. So it's connecting everything. Talk about the hates and the loves in the house of family. Behind all this, what exactly happened behind the scene? Chapter 13 to 19 talk about the result. Chapter 13 and 14 are a result as well as an introduction, a turning point, and also a process. It's the cause of 15 to 19 a greater trouble. Why would Absalom end up like that? Why the house of David ended up like that? Chapter 13 and 14 are an introduction. But it's also the result of the sin of David, 13 and 14. So David sinned. He killed Uriah. He took someone else's wife. And God said, adversity will be raised up against you, and the sword shall never depart from your house. Then 13 and 14 come. Talk about a beginning. And it's also a result from previous chapters. So today we read on chapter 13. The title for today is Father loses his strength. The family face adversity, calamity. I want to say that when a father loses God's protection, when a father loses his blessing, because David sinned, God's judgment came. He confessed his sin, and then David did not die. And yet, the enemy was given the chance to blaspheme. That's why adversity came to him. And then chapter 13, when we read chapter 13 and 14, and we realize that in actual world, in the physical realm, what happened, the operation, how did it happen? First of all, God declared the judgment. God declared that verdict, that judgment, and also the attack of the enemy. And combining all this together, what happened? And then so the focus seems to shift in chapter 13 and 14 to Absalom and Amnon. So whose problem was it actually? Was it the problem of Amnon or the problem of Absalom? Or Tamar? Or Jonadab? Jonadab. We have a Hong Kong slang. Okay, basically, okay, troublemaker. But there is a very slang Hong Kong word which we should not learn. A troublemaker. Put it a very nice and polite way. But in polite or slang word we do not want to learn is there is a Chinese saying. But yeah, we'll come to a conclusion later. But yeah, when the father loses his strength, he loses his. It's not like he completely lost the blessing of God, because God's blessing promise over David's house still stands. I will establish your family and your kingdom. That's the promise of God. It stands forever. It stands forever. And yet adversity still came. And the judgment that the sword shall never depart from your house still stand. So adversity shall arise against you from your own house. These two happened simultaneously. It's not easy to be God, is it? But his kindness, his mercy are greater than his judgment. Therefore, that's what we talk about. God's kindness still reigns in the sinful world. That's the title for last chapter. Grace is greater than sin. Yes, man sins, but man confess sins and God shows mercy. What man cannot do, God will do it, and he will do the rest. So it's divided into two paragraphs. Second Samuel chapter 13. So these two paragraphs in these chapters is one's parallel, and it echoes. It's a beautiful passage. The writing is beautiful, but yeah, we do not have it's really parallel, symmetrical, but we cannot go into depth into the writing pattern. It's a beautiful chapter. You probably do not understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah. First paragraph, verse 1 to 22. Adversity in the family, loves and hate. Loves turn into hatred. Adversity came to the house. Love turned into hatred. Hatred arises out of love. In the beginning, right at the start, verse 1 and verse 2, after this, Absalom, the son of David, had a lovely sister whose name was Tamar, and Amnon, the son of David, loved her. Amnon was so distressed over her sister Tamar that he became sick, for she was a virgin, and it was improper for Amnon to do anything to her. Verse 2. So Amnon was the firstborn, was the eldest, the first successor to the throne, the first successor to the kingdom of David, the first in line. Last night I read the news. The grandson of British Queen had a baby daughter. He is the seventh or the eighth to the throne. That's what the news was saying. So it's Harry, right? Prince Harry. So now she has like the seventh or the eighth successor to the throne, potential. The royal family of Britain is getting weaker and weaker, I would say. The royal family, the British royal family is weaker and weaker. Yeah, Prince Harry's daughter, the second child. Harry and Meghan moved to the States, as we all know from the news. So he named his daughter. The middle name of the daughter is Diana, as Prince Prince Harry's mother, in order to remember his own mother, Diana. You see, this prince, to give up the right to succeed the throne. Now he has a daughter. He remembers his daughter, and his daughter and his own father had a lot of problem, as we all know. Diana and Prince Charles. Her mother was loved by the world, and yet his own father did not love his own mother. So we have a lot of scandals, scandals in the royal family. At the end, Diana, Harry's mother, died in an accident. As far as I remember, yeah, died in an accident. I was sad over her death. The doctor in France tried to save her life, but her heart stopped. Diana's heart stopped. But the doctor did not stop trying to save her. Put her heart on his heart. Continued to CPR over the real heart. Hopefully to revive the heart. The doctor did it for a long time, but still it's beyond help. So he gave up. The doctor gave up. Everyone was grieved. This is something that no one wants to see. But this happened in our time. A royal family is getting weaker and weaker. The same for the house of David. He was very blessed, but from being so blessed, getting weaker and weaker. Yes, of course, the grace of God still stands, but from the world, from man's point of view, many trouble, many problems. Verse 1 and 2 talk about the love of Amnon over Tamar. Inappropriate love. But then in verse 22, the beauty of this chapter, for Absalom hated Amnon. And verse 15, after Amnon lied with Tamar, Amnon hated her exceedingly, hated Amnon. He hated, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. So Absalom, Amnon, the eldest brother, hated his own sister. He did wrong and he hated his sister. And his own brother, the third brother, Absalom, hated his own brother. And father David was angry. So in this verse 1 to 22 is very parallel. Verse 1 to 2, the love of Amnon for Tamar. Verse 3 to 6, the thoughts of what he desired, he longed to do, Amnon. And here, Jonadab, and gave some crafty plan. And then verse 7 to 10. So Tamar went to the house of Amnon's house. There's a problem here. David the father lost his strength. Why? Why did I say that? Why did I say that? Now Jonadab was a very crafty man. Verse 3. King's son, why are you, the king's son, becoming thinner day after day? Verse 4. Then he knew what happened. So he gave a very cunning plan. So Jonadab said to him, lie down on your bed and pretend to be ill. And when your father comes to see you, say to him, please let my sister Tamar come and give me food. And verse 7, so David came to see him, and then he asked his father to do this. From verse 7 to 10, so David sent home to Tamar, his own daughter, and say, now you go to your brother's Amnon's house and prepare food for him. Why? David was so unwise. Why didn't he see that his own son, the eldest son, was getting thinner and thinner day by day? But Jonadab noticed that straight away. He was a father. What does his son want? How can he not know? His son loved his daughter so much that he was getting thinner day by day, and David did not notice. And his own son pretended to be ill, and he didn't know. If you were parents, your children play sick, would you notice? I'm so sick. I want my sister to come and make a couple of cakes for me in my sight. Do you think David was a fool here? What happened behind this? What made him like this? What made him like this? There are many possible reasons. Why did David do not notice? To me, I think David was in sin. He was in judgment. He lost his wisdom because he was distant from God. Maybe that's the time that Satan blinded his sight. Because he gave great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme in chapter 12. Maybe then the protection of God over him was removed. The adversity arise against you from your own house is happening. Maybe that's what behind in the spiritual realm, that's what happened. Such a simple thing, and David did not notice. And David sent Tamar doing that. Verse 11 to 13. So Amnon defiled his own sister. So his sister urged him not to. And then she was defiled. Verse 14. Verse 15 and 16. So Amnon hated her exceedingly after lying with her. We don't understand. Why? After lying with her, he hated her more than he loved her. Why? What happened? Why? Was he afraid that David would judge him? Was he? Or was he afraid of Absalom? Because Absalom was a mighty man. He was a mighty warrior. Now he did this, he was so terrified and hated her. And Tamar was urging him, and he did not listen. He did not listen to Tamar's plead before and after the rape. And verse 17 and 18, he drove her away from him. He did not listen. And he said, here, put this woman, not his own daughter, put this woman out, away from me, and bolt the door behind her. Now she had and bolted the door behind her. And her servant put her out and bolted the door behind her. What did he treat? Worse than a prostitute. You try to give money to the prostitute, right? But here is your sister. You defile her, and you did not just drove her out straight away. Why did he love her to the point that he was getting thinner and thinner? But now he hated her so much to put her out. Why? So Tamar was in deep grief. So Absalom said to her. So Absalom's advice was totally opposite to Jonadab's advice. So the grief of Tamar was like a big contrast to the lust of Amnon. Verse 21 to 23. So Absalom hated his own brother. And David was angry. He was very angry. Something like this happened in his own house. The older son, the first successor, the first in line to the throne. How David's kingdom should continue depends very much hinge on the successor. And now this successor defiled his own son's sister. David was very angry. But he lost his strength, David here. He was only very angry, that's all. He dared not to do anything to Amnon. Did he punish Amnon? Did he punish the sin of Amnon? But David knew that he was not a righteous person. Why was his son like that? He knew it so well in his own heart. Because he himself did the same thing. So he could do nothing. He was just very angry. He lost strength. The king, lost his strength. That's why adversity came upon his own house. Love and hatred intertwined in his house. Now the third prince, Absalom, was very angry and hated the first prince. Yeah, that could be part of the storyline of the King of Love. Verse 23 to 39, the second paragraph. The revenge and running away of Absalom. But actually, David should be the focus, just like first paragraph. The adversity of the house. David is the focus. He lost his strength. So this happened in the house, his own house. David was only very angry. He did nothing. So adversity continued an adversity happened. So the king's son defiled his own, the first in line, and defiled his own his own sister. This adversity turned into a bigger adversity. And then in chapter 15 onwards, it turned into greater adversity. And right here, a greater adversity from verse 23 to 39. So Amnon was killed. So the king lost 2 sons in one day because one was killed, the other one ran away. What did the king do? He was a king. He was a father. He was the king. And here, David did absolutely nothing. The first prince defiled one of the princes, and the king was only very angry. And during how Amnon defiled Tamar, the king was passive, and he participated because he sent Tamar there. And there is another parallel here. And the king was part of it. Amnon died, was killed. The king was part of it. He was passive. So basically, David was like a prey being taken captives by sin. He had no strength to oppose it. So he lost the strength to defend himself because he lost God's blessing. Even though he was the king, he could do nothing. The first paragraph, he was so very angry. And here, he was just really sad. He was sad. Every day he grieved. Mourned for his son every day. Verse 37. David mourned for his son every day. David was strengthless. Verse 23 to 29. The revenge, the plan to revenge of Absalom and how he killed Amnon. When a man tried to take revenge, 2 years is not a long time. He waited for the right opportunity. He was very angry, but he did not show it. When it's time for sheep shearing, he asks the king to come. And David said, "No, my son, let us not all go down now," because he was not in the mood. "Oh, if you are not coming, then why not Amnon come on your behalf?" I say, "No, why should he go?" No, why should he? But Absalom urged him. And then Absalom urged David. Then he could not say no anymore. He did not, rationally say no. But he thought, okay, let Amnon go. Maybe he had some feel. So he asked all the king's sons to go with him. A group of people go should be quite safe. So, all the king's sons went with Amnon to join this party. But Absalom didn't care. He sent the secret order to kill, the secret killing order. So he commanded his servants, verse 28, saying, "Kill, strike Amnon. Strike Amnon, then kill him. Just do it. It's my order. Be courageous and valiant." So the servants of Absalom did to Amnon as Absalom had commanded. So Amnon died. Why did David allow this happen? Let Amnon go. So, Absalom kept urging the king to let Amnon to go. Something definitely is wrong, right? David could not stop him. And then Amnon died. David did not do anything, Amnon died. And David mourned for his son every day. And then Jonadab appeared. Don't worry, it's only one that has been killed. Yeah, Amnon did so and so. So he's a troublemaker, is it? Jonadab was a troublemaker, wasn't he? According to my judgment, so Jonadab was saying that according to my judgment, Absalom only killed one, not all. So the king's prince came back. So David wept aloud, and all the kings wept aloud. So Absalom fled to his grandfather, that is the father of his mother. So, and then David mourned for his son every day. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur and was there 3 years. And King David longed to go to Absalom, for he had been comforted concerning Amnon because he was dead. Last verse. Why was David comforted concerning Amnon? Now the heart of David changed again. Within that 3 years, Absalom was away. He did not punish the sin of Absalom. The father lost his strength. The third prince killed the first prince. Is the sin of first prince deserving death? Was it? No. But he killed first prince and fled and ran away. As a king, as a father, and he did not tell his own son, third prince, my son, you have done the wrong thing. He did not do that. What was David thinking? Now, first prince died. Should the third prince take the throne? Should it? Third prince, you can never succeed my place. You cannot reign in my place. Well, you go, you leave. You need to be punished. You need to be in exile. So after 3 years, his heart longed to go. He longed to go to Absalom. But this son sinned. What did he do? He didn't scold his own son and say, you did wrong. He did absolutely nothing. The father lost strength. So the father did not do any wise decision. He did wrong decision. He made wrong decisions. Adversity came to his house. Now his first prince, the eldest son died. Because he indulged his third son. Greater adversity came to the house of David. Now, brothers and sisters, we read this story now. We have done it. Why David was so unwise? Why was he? Towards Amnon, towards Absalom, he did nothing to refuse their request. That's why these adversities came to him. Amnon died. David did not punish the sin of Absalom. He did not punish Absalom. Likewise, Amnon defiled his own sister, defiled Tamar. David did nothing. He was just very angry. He didn't say, hey, my elder son, you have done wrong. He did not. You cannot succeed the throne. He did not say that. Or even heavier punishment. He didn't. He let sin tangle and weaken the house of David. After David sinned, after he sinned, he was bound by the sin. God forgave him. God did not put him to death, but God let adversity come to his house. And David was so weak now. He has been so weak. He has made a series of wrong decisions. He did not take up the position as a father. He did not stand up as the position of a king. He did not administer justice and judgment. Adversities took him captive. So that reminds us, today we are as father, as cell leaders, we need to cling to God. We need to say what needs to be said. We need to do what needs to be done. You need to be upright. We need to say the right thing. Do not lose. Do not ignore everything. Otherwise, adversity will come. We need to do wise decision. We do not do unwise decision. Being influenced by the whole situation. So David should have made the decisions on the whole overall situation. He dared not to do anything. That's why the whole house of David was weakened. May God help us. That's the end of our message today.